Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Hannah. I'm a UK registered nurse, university lecturer, and I've been an NMC OSCE programme lead. And on this channel, I share with you my advice and teaching to help you prepare and study for your NMC OSCE exam for free. I also provide one-to-one independent support and tutoring for international nurses and UK university student nurses as well. So in this video, this is for my child OSCE nurses. I'm going to take you through that new APIE scenario that is coming into play I think the 23rd of April or very soon. So this is a new APIE which the child nursing students are going to have along with your asthma and tonsillectomy. Okay, like I said, so this is a new APIE scenario that's coming in for the child students, so to go alongside your tonsillectomy bleed and your asthma scenario. So in this video, I'm going to talk through all four sections of the APIE, what to prepare and what to expect for looking at this scenario. So fever in children, as children nurses, you'll know that fever is a really, really common presentation in children. And normally caused by viral infection, but also can indicate serious bacterial infection as well. Fever in children usually indicates that kind of underlying infection, and it is that normal response to body's response to kind of infection. Fever itself is not particularly harmful, but obviously the underlying cause of the fever and infection could be potentially harmful. And it's very common in young children, with kind of 20 to 40% parents reporting kind of fever episodes each year. So everything I'm going to talk to you today comes from the NICE guidance. So like with everything, make sure you're evidence-based and following UK policy. So the NICE guidance have got that guidance on feverish children and lots of information on there, and I'm going to take some of it today during this session. So what are the signs and symptoms of a child having a fever? Well, obviously a raised fever above 38 degrees. They might have flushed skin, hot to touch, sweating or shivering. They could be a bit irritable or have a changing behaviour, normally accompanied with reduced appetite and poor feeding. They might be tired as well, crying more than usual. They can have that response, so an increased heart rate, tachycardia, or increased fast breathing, tachypnea. They can also have signs of dehydration because they're not eating and drinking particularly well, and they've got that insensible loss from the fever as well. So dry mouth, reduced urine output, sunken eyes, or fontanella in the younger infants. There may also might be some vomiting and diarrhea, and some children might also get febrile convulsions as well. So the NICE guidance use a traffic light system for kind of identifying those at risk of serious illness. So green is low risk, amber is intermediate risk, and then red is high risk. This hasn't appeared in the NMC supporting documents, so don't think you'll have it in your OSCE, but it's a good thing to know for clinical practice, but also in your exam to kind of, especially if you know what some of the red high risk identifiers are, then you can kind of respond to those appropriately. So those red ones are when that child is pale or mottled, no response, appears seriously unwell, got a weak high-pitched cry, grunting respirations, they've got some chest recession, potentially reduced consciousness, a non-blanching rash, neck stiffness, so those signs of a meningitis infection, status epilepticus, and focal neurological signs. I don't think you will have a child which is this ill in your OSCE exam, but this is good to know for clinical practice and just to be aware of. So what's the treatment? So, NICE does recommend the use of antipyretics, so paracetamol, ibuprofen, but only if the child appears distressed. It shouldn't be given solely just to reduce the temperature. So you just need to be quite careful about an exam. Make sure you're following the NICE guidance. We don't routinely give both together, but we can alternate if the distress persists between kind of the next phase. We can alternate between ibuprofen and paracetamol. We might also do other things such as, not having the child overly dressed or overly swaddled as well, but there's limited evidence around cool and tepid sponging. So those are kind of just the supportive methods. We also want to treat the underlying causes. So if it's a viral illness, we wouldn't give antibiotics. It's just that supportive care in terms of fluid kind of replacement, comfort care. If there is a bacterial infection, we'd obviously want to take any samples to identify where that is, so urine, blood cultures, for example, if they've got any wounds, and that child will be started on antibiotics. We need to manage dehydration, so this is increasing or managing oral rehydration or potentially IV fluids. And if there's a respiratory cause, so sometimes if the child's got asthma and got an underlying respiratory cause, we're obviously going to treat those breathing difficulties as well with our inhalers. So in terms of your OSCE exam, so A2 assessments, we're going to still complete the same A2 assessment we do in the other APIEs. So obviously making sure the airway is patent, you're breathing, looking for a kind of increased work breathing, respiratory rate, oxygen saturations, on the pews, those signs of respiratory distress. Obviously our circulation is very important. So think about heart rate, capillary refill, hydration, obviously blood pressure. Children can compensate for a long time. So observations can sometimes be normal. Then they deteriorate quite rapidly. Disability, so it is quite important to assess the conscious level, any history of seizures, febrile seizures, and urine output and exposure. So it's particularly looking for rashes and wounds, which could be the cause of an infection, any injury. Obviously the temperature is important and will be high in your exam, and the infection source. So other things to think about in terms of your assessment. So we're obviously looking at that high temperature, discussing with the parents around the history of feeling unwell, or history of family members being unwell, or history of the nursery school having an illness that's going around, any pain and discomfort in the child or infant, what has been their appetite and fluid intake. So that's very important when the child's got fever, and assessing from parents if they're more sleepy as well. So these are some things that can you build into your assessment and holistic assessment as well. Very important that you pick up on the Pugh's sepsis criteria for this scenario. So a child with fever, if your temperature is greater than 38, then they're going to hit the sepsis criteria. You might also have some prolonged CRT or unexplained tachycardia. So it's likely that your child is going to hit the sepsis criteria, of which case we would put the concern as a specific concern and make sure we follow the escalation policy appropriately. So even if your Pugh's is between 1 and 4, if they've hit a new suspicion of sepsis, our specific concern is our trigger, and we take them up into that medium escalation. So I'd really be careful on this and look out for this in your OSCE exam. I imagine this scenario has been brought in by the NMC to test a recognition of sepsis in children potentially. We know that's an area which obviously has catastrophic events if it's not picked up, but also it is and can be quite common potentially. Planning, so there's various care plans you could do. So obviously you can do fever, temperature control, there's risk of dehydration, that's an easy care plan. I'm going to go through that one with you in more detail. Child might be a bit anxious potentially, or they might have some discomfort or pain. You could also do risk of febrile seizures and convulsions, especially if in the background history they've been brought in by their parents having had a febrile convulsion at home. So that would be a very appropriate one to do as well. So I'm just going to take you through a dehydration one here. So I've got joy, is that risk of dehydration related to fever, poor appetite, reduced fluid intake, that's evidenced by reduced urine output and fluid intake. My aim is to maintain an equal or positive fluid balance and minimise the risk of dehydration. I'd be re-evaluating this probably every hour and checking that fluid input output every hour in those initial stages. Okay, so interventions for this care plan. So we can explain to Joy and obviously parent or carer and get consent. We're going to need to monitor and record those Pugh's as per the prescribed monitoring frequency. So take the actual monitoring frequency off your assessment stations. If it said 30 minutes, we'd want to do that every 30 minutes, for example. We also want to make sure we're assessing CRT, if any delay, any mottled skin. We're going to assess hydration status. So this is checking mucosal membranes, tears, capillary refill, skin trigger, urine output, and obviously the fontanella for young children. We're going to monitor and document fluid input and output hourly and overall fluid balance every 24 hours. We should offer small frequent drinks of her choice. So we want to start with pushing oral fluids first if the child is able to, but we can escalate to the doctors for review for IV fluids. We want to specifically monitor urine output and wet nappies, and we obviously need to explain to parents how to use a cool bath needed and document all care to Joy. So that could be just a standard dehydration care plan. Like I said, I've given you some examples of potential other ones you can use as well. I think for this scenario, you could have a child of any age as well. So you could be doing an infant or a 1 to 4 or the kind of 5 to 12 as well. So potentially you could have a child of any age in this scenario. Implementation. So, I mean, pretty much would be your paracetamol and or ibuprofen, but for child distress rather than fever management. If the scenario is going down a bacterial cause, you might have some antibiotics prescribed, so just watch out for allergies. Most of the child scenarios in the OSCE have some form of multivitamins, vitamin D, cholecalciferol, so just look out for those. Just make sure you check your age-related dosages in the BNFC, especially because you could have a child of any age or infant in this potential scenario. So evaluation, if you're handing over to the next nurse on shift, it'll be just continuing really all that required care for this child. So obviously you need to continue their observations, PIE's monitoring as per policy, escalate if any sepsis concerns or red flags, that's quite important to hand over, assessing for signs of dehydration, you know, including the skin, urine output, mucous membranes, fontanella. Obviously continue to support the parent and child. If you've identified any social issues in the holistic assessment, you know, housing, safeguarding, kind of parent smoking, not being immunised, those things would need to be handed over. Continue to administer prescribed analgesics if distressed, or antibiotics if it's applicable to your scenario. We want to encourage food and fluid intake, and we want to monitor that fluid and intake and output as well. And potentially we would ask them to continue to monitor any signs of febrile seizure as well. So kind of that standard handover. If your child's deteriorated in that scenario and you're handing over to the doctor, you obviously just want an immediate review as per PIE's escalation. So you don't need to give them a whole list of things because you're demonstrating you understand the child's deteriorated and you are going to, you know, immediately escalate that for the child to be reviewed. So summary, what do I think about this new scenario then? I think it's a good scenario for child nurses to do. We know temperature is so common, presentation in children, and there's a potential for a lot of variation for this scenario. So like I said, you could have any age range. So it's very important you know your PIE's charts for all 4 children and your vitals for those. It could be a viral infection presentation, in which case it would be kind of more that supportive care. It could be from bacterial infection, or the scenario could be because the child's had a febrile seizure at home and been brought in. So that's where I would imagine these 3 scenarios to be. And so good to prepare for all of them. Remember, the assessment's the same, APIE assessment's the same, holistic assessment, PIE's documentation as well. If you find that helpful, please like, share and subscribe my videos. Child ones don't get a huge amount of uptake, so it's really good if they are watched and shared in order to support the algorithm as well.